Well, hearings open later at the United Nations highest court in a case brought by Ukraine against Russia linked to Moscow's 2014 annexation of Crimea and arming of rebels in eastern Ukraine before the February 2022 invasion. Kyiv wants the International Court of Justice to order Moscow to pay reparations for attacks in the regions. A claim has also been registered for the downing of Malaysia Airlines flight MH17, which was shot down by Russia-backed rebels in July of 2014, killing all 298 passengers and crew. Lawyers for Kyiv will present legal arguments to support their case today, followed by Russia on Thursday. Each side has another opportunity next week to present evidence. Judges are expected to take months to issue a judgment.
Well, for the very latest, we're going to speak now to Arise chief correspondent John Cookson, who joins us now from London. Good afternoon, John. Now, this is very much a developing story. What more are we learning about this?
Hi guys, great to be part of Newsday as always. Well, as you say, a developing story, and it's flooding, extensive flooding in that part of the world affected by the breach of this dam. I think we can show you a map showing where the Novokhorovka dam is and its relation to Kherson province. The province is split with the Dnipro River in the middle, and broadly speaking, the Ukrainians control north of the river, and the Russians are occupying the south of the river. And as you can see from these images here, I mean, what you're seeing here is 18 million cubic meters of water pouring into the Dnipro River, which was already swollen. That equivalent in gallons is 4.5 billion gallons of water. A huge wall of water, which is boosting the river over the banks on both sides of the divide, because this dam is right in the middle of a war zone, a conflict zone, and a key area that the Ukrainians need to take if they're ever going to win this conflict with their counteroffensive, which could be imminent at the moment. So it's a dramatic development, and one's thoughts have to be with the families who undoubtedly have been losing their homes. And there are no reports of casualties at the moment, but it's early days. And we'll see more pictures emerging, I'm sure, in the next 72 hours or so. So a catastrophic event in that part of the world.
Well, John, both sides are blaming each other for destroying the dam. Who should we actually believe in this case?
I would urge you and Arise News viewers to keep a very open mind on this, because let me say right at the top that this dam was in a poor state of repair anyway, and there was water surging. There we can see the map showing where the dam is, the Novokhorovka dam, and it had been in a poor state of repairs. Water pressure was building up on one side. That said, if we believe the reports that it was either rocketed or an explosion occurred of some kind, who carried it out? Now, militarily, this flood favors the Russians, because it broadens the massive amount of water that the Ukrainian forces have to cross to get into Russian-held territory. On the other hand, that territory is severely flooded, and that's an area where there's a lot of Russian troops embedded. So either side could, in theory, benefit from this collapse of the dam, but military experts are tending to say today that the Russians were behind it, and the Russians, I have to say, are denying any responsibility for attacking the dam in any way. So, as I said, keep an open mind. It seems to suggest, from a military point of view, that it benefits the Russians the most, because it creates a much wider expanse of water that the Ukrainians have to cross to get into Russian territory, as and when this major counteroffensive gets underway.
All right then. So, John, the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant takes its water from the Dnieper River. So what impact will losing the dam have on the safety at the plant?
A good water supply is essential to the nuclear power plant for cooling spent nuclear waste. And there are a number of reservoirs and lagoons around the plant where this water is cooling spent fuel rods. If there's any interruption in that water supply, then there is the potential of some kind of nuclear meltdown, and this is the huge danger. Now, the IAEA, which is the Atomic Energy Authority, says there is, at this present time, no short-term danger because the plant can get more water from the river, which is close to the nuclear plant itself. Short-term, there is no danger at the moment, but it's very much a changing scenario, and if water levels start to drop significantly as a result of this dam collapse, then that could, in theory, prejudice the water supply to the nuclear power plant itself, and the spent fuel rods would be exposed to the atmosphere. But I think we're a long way from that.
Well, John, has there been any reaction so far from world leaders?
Well, you mentioned the NATO leader Jens Stoltenberg there. He said, called the attack outrageous and represents the brutality of Russia's war in Ukraine. So he clearly believes that the Russians attacked the dam and collapsed it. Charles Michel, similar, he's the president of the European Council, calling it a war crime. Technically it is, although that's calling it a war crime. It could be a bit of a stretch. But we'll have to wait and see. Also tonight, it's possible that the Security Council in the UN and in New York may discuss what's going on. So we'll get, no doubt, more comments later tonight on that.
Well, John, I'd like to deviate a bit from what we're used to with the Ukraine and Russia crisis. Can you tell us a bit about what's going to happen with Russia that's set to face Ukraine at the UN court over the downing of that flight MH17? I think that was in 2014. Can you tell us any of the information you might have?
Yes, what a terrible, terrible incident that was. A plane blown out of the skies, shredded in the air by these dreadful missiles that explode before they hit the target, just meters away from the target, which was this airliner with hundreds of people on board. And it was, as I say, shredded in the skies. No one stood a chance, and slammed eventually into the earth in Ukraine all those years ago. And this tribunal is trying to work out who was responsible, and the evidence clearly is already that rebels loyal to Russia actually shot the airliner down. Now, why they did that, because it was clearly an airliner, not any military threat to them, we just don't know. What can be the ultimate outcome of all of this? Well, the finger could be pointed ultimately at President Putin. But again, even if there's a finding of guilt here, whether Putin would ever even think of surrendering himself to the authority of the War Crimes Tribunal is highly doubtful, and it will take some months before any decision is realized, and this war will have moved on considerably by then, and the world will have changed, no doubt, when we do get a result. But whether there'll be justice for those killed in this outrageous act of terror in the skies, frankly, it's really doubtful.
All right, thank you so much, Arise Chief Correspondent there, John Cookson.